my favorite fighter? Well, for me, I got a couple. I got a couple of people I'm just big fans of, but I wouldn't call them my favorite. Guys like Justin Gaethje, Robert Whittaker, Stipe Miocic, Mirko Cro Cop. Number one is Boss Rutten. But I have a hard time imagining that guy's going to have a card I cover in the Retro Review. But my number two, though, who for a very long time was my favorite active fighter, is Jose Aldo, the featherweight goat himself, otherwise known as the King of Rio. So today, let's talk about UFC 179. Enough Duran. Let's look at Jose Aldo taking on Chad Mendes for the featherweight title in a rematch. UFC 179 took place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil on October 25th, 2014. Despite Aldo being widely considered to be a top fighter at the time, the UFC really just didn't have interest in promoting him. Probably because he didn't speak English, but it just is what it is. Last thing to note, no Joe Rogan, so replacing him is Brian Stann, who I actually kind of missed in the commentary booth. But enough talk. Let's just get to the fights. Bunch of solid names on the undercard. In his second ever UFC fight, Gilbert Burns got a first round armbar over Christos Giagos at lightweight. Andre Fili nabbed a decision win to recover from his loss to Max Holloway. Neal Magny just kind of grounded and pounded his way to a third round stoppage finally over William Macario, which put him at 5-0 in 2014. It's kind of a crazy stat, really, even now. So for the first fight on the main card, we have Beneil Darius versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. So first round on the way, both dudes launching kicks back and forth, but Darius seems to have the cleaner strikes as he's the one landing these clean kicks and even sneaking in some good solid punches in there. Some clinching against the cage. Benny, though, turns it around, lands some good knees with the middle. Near the end of the round, Benny gets a nice takedown, and now the grappling starts. Good little attempt to sweep with a butterfly by Ferreira, but Benny stifles it. I think this is a good round for Benny. Second round, and Benny's corner is telling him to exploit the stance switch, and they want him to shoot on the legs when he's southpaw. He does that actually perfectly early, gets good positioning, can't hold him down for super long, but on the way out, he actually lands a head kick that's partially blocked. More striking from Ferreira, but he's looking exhausted, so Benny's taking full advantage. Later on, near the end of the round, he gets another takedown, and is just kind of dominant from full guard, landing strikes when he needs to, stifling any attempts at having an active guard from Ferreira. Third round, and Ferreira knows he's down on the cards. He just instantly goes for a flurry, with one actually looking pretty good, and it kind of put Benny against the cage. Benny does tie up. He looks for an Uchimata, but in the scramble, Ferreira stays on his feet. Darius does get a takedown later on, though, and he just kind of dominates from top position. That's the fight. 3 rounds of a Beneil Darius domination. I'm going to give this fight a 7 out of 10. Some really good moments, and I really enjoyed the scrambles here when they did happen, but the cardio Ferreira, really kind of slowed down some of the back and forth moments we could have had, so slightly disappointing when you look at the names. Next up, we have a featherweight contest between Darren the Damage Elkins, before he had that weird chest tattoo, and Lucas Martins, I should say. So first round, it's this matchup of a high volume striker versus an aggressive grappler. Usually that's a bad matchup for the striker, and Martins is aware of this, so he's smartly not, really keeping a high volume. He's being patient and just defending the takedowns. Good news is, he's stuffing him. Bad news, he's losing the striking because the activity of Darren Elkins is just doing a little bit more for him. And that's the round. Elkins can't get a takedown, so he presses him to the cage. He'll throw a punch on the exit, try to be a little active in the striking, and then rinse repeat. Second round, a little better for Martins, still stuffing takedowns, and while he's getting pressed to the cage, he's starting to let his hands go a little bit more. At one point, he does land this really awesome, beautiful lead hook to the body into a high kick that does stun Elkins. Elkins does clinch up, and despite the high moment for Martins, I still lean towards Elkins for that clinch control. Third round, Martins is having more success with the strikes, hurting Elkins with some great intercepting knees and whenever Elkins threatens a level change. Despite this, though, Elkins just kind of stays on him, holds him against the cage, never giving him any space, and this is another Elkins round in my book. Okay, so this fight, disappointing. Again, 5 out of 10 for this one. It had fun moments, but for the most part, Elkins just kind of wants to holly home this whole fight, so it just is what it is. Next up, we have a light heavyweight matchup between Fabio Maldonado and Hans Stringer. So, we found him, boys. Let's just say this. Let's just say it outright. We found him. We found out this week's Retro Review guy to check out. Okay, that isn't a very easy thing to say. So it's a working title, but I'm nominating Fabio Maldonado for this. This guy didn't have very much success in the UFC, but he put on some pretty solid fights. I really like his debut win over James McSweeney, and I'm actually pretty fond of the Kyle Kingsbury fight. Currently, Fabio is 4-4 in the UFC, but he has this reputation for just being tough as nails. He took on Glover Teixeira at one point and was just battered and battered and battered. Never gave up. Was still trying to be in it. First round, hey, look at this. Stringer gets a takedown super early. From here, he just kind of manhandles Maldonado, exposing his lack of grappling skills. Some ground and pound here and there, but it's mostly just controlling him on the mat. Maldonado gets up at one point. The crowd goes insane, but he's instantly brought back down for the remainder of the round. Second round, another quick takedown attempt from Stringer, but it stopped this time. Maldonado breaks from the clinch. He's trying to set up his offense. Stringer might be the bigger, faster, and younger guy, but he's starting to visibly gas now. A low kick elicits a taunt from Maldonado, but never mind all that. He's just taken down again right after. He does get to his feet. He counters a throw attempt on the get-up from Stringer, and he's on top. Big shots from the guard, landing to the body, to the head, and soon Maldonado's posturing up for more. Stringer's just holding his hands up, getting pounded on the arms, and Maldonado's laying into him. It's over. Mark Goddard just calls the end to this fight. Okay, so this fight just isn't great again. 5 out of 10. It had a finish, but I can't see myself liking it more or less than the last fight, so let's keep some consistency here. Let's just move on. Oh, it's our co-main event already. In a light heavyweight matchup between Glover Teixeira and Phil Davis. So first round sees Davis moving, trying to avoid the big right hand of Teixeira while using his improving striking to score some offense of his own. Any takedowns he tries, instantly stuffed, and we're kind of creating a similar issue as we saw in the Darren Elkins fight. Finally, Phil Davis does get the takedown, and he just kind of controls the remainder of the round. Second round, more of the same. At one point, Teixeira does get a really nice reversal, and he used that to get back to the feet. But this whole round feels samey, and I'll admit, I started getting a little bored while rewatching this. Third round, more of the same. Just feels like deja vu, as Phil Davis just doesn't really let Glover breathe at all for the remainder of the fight, with clinching and some wrestling here and there. Another just not great fight. 3 out of 10? Why not? The most fun I had rewatching this was looking up stuff to what bar Phil Davis. Well, so he's got this maroon compression shorts going on, and we are in Brazil, so I nominate the Acia Berry smoothie. But now it's time for the main event. The reason this card was nominated and picked, after all, a rematch for the featherweight title between Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes. So Aldo, 19-1 going into his first fight with Mendes, including an 8-fight winning streak with only 1 decision in the WEC. Mendes was 10-0 at the time. First fight was quick, though. Aldo got a knockout with an intercepting knee, I think 1 second left in the first fight. After the loss, though, Mendes went on a 5-fight winning streak where he seemed to elevate and reinvent his striking. Aldo has fought 3 times since the first fight, including my favorite fight of all time with Frankie Edgar. He just maintained dominance throughout these fights, and really, he looked a little bored against Korean Zombie and Ricardo Lamas at times, but just a masterful dominance over this division. But with the revitalized and seemingly reinvented Mendes, is this dominance going to last? Well, let's find out. First round, Mendes is the aggressor. He's coming out quick, trying to pressure and lands some low kicks. Aldo starts firing off these lightning fast punch combinations, with some of them landing clean. A level change fate from Mendes, and Aldo is ready with this nasty uppercut. But it lands on the elbow as Mendes defends it and then fires back with a counter left hook. Aldo just starts letting it rip with some massive shots. Huge step-in knee, Mendes eats, but he manages to get Aldo down for maybe 0.3 seconds. Huge counter left hook. Now Mendes is down. Aldo pounces, gets mount. Mendes survives and escapes to his feet. Huge right uppercut, and the crowd is going ballistic. Second round, both guys are looking to get things going in the neutral, but Aldo is finding success with the left hook. Good right hand lands, forces a level change from Mendes, but he stuffs it. The rest of the round is them just launching shots at each other. It's a lot of setup combinations using jabs and feints to land a clean shot. This is a really good round, but it's not quite as action-packed as the first. Round 3, a left hook from Chad Mendes lands really well on the nose. Good pressure from Aldo, with that left hook getting a lot of work done for him. Later on, Mendes lands his single best shot of the fight, where he ducks and comes up with a great uppercut that allows him to flurry on the now stunned Aldo. Aldo lands this short right hand that just sends Mendes flying backwards. Mendes survives this flurry, goes for a desperation takedown. Aldo hurts Mendes again. This time, Mendes gets the high crotch and elevates Aldo. But like a cat, he just lands on his feet. Fourth round, Mendes starts pressuring the champ. He's looking for that another ducking uppercut, and one of them nearly lands. He even goes high with a kick that partially lands, and blood is starting to trickle under the eye of Aldo. It's actually a super close round, with both dudes landing shots, momentum kind of swinging in the striking. This fight is very, very close. 5th round, and Aldo is starting to just put it all together, and it's cut short when Mendes gets his first takedown of the fight, and he holds him for a bit. Aldo does get back to his feet, though, really well, and some good shots are landing. Then a big combination forces another desperation takedown from Mendes. Aldo takes the back. He's trying to get a hook in, but Mendes is defending it well, and they get back to the feet. They go right back to trading. Mendes gets stung. Mendes slips a punch and lands a shot back of his own. But, Aldo just seems to be kind of landing a little bit more. He stings Mendes a couple of more times, and with the clock winding down, he actually throws a jumping roundhouse kick. The final horn sounds, and Jose Aldo wins by unanimous decision. Great fight. Great fight. 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of the best fights ever, I think. And my number 2 of Aldo's career. Aldo, well, I hate his next fight more than anything in MMA history. But he lost the belt. We'll just say that. We'll just say he lost the belt. But he did get a match with Frankie Edgar for the interim belt. Then he dropped 2 straight to Max Holloway. And he did retire earlier this year with a career resurgence at bantamweight, where he was actually pretty close to getting a title shot once again. I thought he deserved it, personally. So for my final thoughts on this card wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. For the whole thing, it's a 6 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and say. That main event is amazing, though, and well worth the whole card not being great. Sometimes you have to sacrifice things. I was willing to sacrifice some bad fights for a fight of that quality. I would do that for the next card. Don't jinx me. Knocking on wood. That's all for me, though. Be sure to check out the rest of the series, though. We have a playlist set up on the channel of all the retro reviews. If you definitely are enjoying this type of content, please go check it out. Share it around, too. Get some more eyes on this. It's always really cool. So this is probably the first retro review of the new year. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. I got to finish my first calendar year, 2022, with the INC family. And, it just means the world to me seeing all the support. I'm always in the comments talking with everybody for the retro reviews. And I'm glad I can just be here bringing y'all some content. I plan on being even better in 2023. No promises for 2024. I'm slightly debating on just kind of plateauing, my improvements. I don't know, though. So if you like this type of content, once again, go check out the playlist we have. And if you want to nominate a card that I can review on the Retro Review series, go to our Patreon. We got one ready to go. I'm super pumped to do it. I'm actually shooting it right after I finish this, and I'm super excited for it. If, maybe you can torture me with that fight I hate more than anything. Please don't, but you could. And if you don't want to wait around for the next Retro Review to catch this old mug, then you can go to our second channel where I recap every UFC fight card after it happens. It's a lot of fun. I'm always on there. That's usually where I'm the most active. Anyways, I'm Joe the INC. Thank you for watching.